Now, disruption is quite a scary word. I mean, just think of giant corporations like Xerox, Nokia, or even Blockbuster, who have failed to keep up with the waves of change and have paid the ultimate price. Now, we believe Open RAN is that next wave of change and will cause a big shakeup in the telecoms industry in the next decade. And we want to help you find your footing, especially in such a competitive market. Now, the change in RAN is somewhat similar to what happened in the data center industry back in the 1990s. I mean, the dot-com bubble really shifted the focus from servers and mainframes to open source websites, driving a more software-centric approach. And fast forward to today, everything we have is on the cloud. The RAN, or radio access network, has also evolved remarkably, shifting from a closed environment to the virtualization of network functions at scale. Mind you that these are still considered rather traditional. What we are moving towards now is an era of openness. Networks are beginning to see the opening of interfaces between different building blocks of the network and the increasing use of general purpose components, something we have not seen in the telecoms industry. But how is all this different than traditional RAN? Well, look at the three I's: infrastructure, interoperability, and innovation. In traditional RAN, the network is a closed environment. Just imagine these components as mobile apps that cannot communicate with one another. While in Open RAN, solutions embrace white label equipment that are interoperable, cheaper, and more accessible. In a traditional RAN, vendor-specific hardware operated in silos. But in Open RAN, these virtual interfaces between hardware and software are being opened to enable cross-communication. Incumbent operators also face the limited choices of RAN components, being in what the industry calls a vendor lock-in. Open RAN solves this issue by allowing operators to mix and match components from different vendors. So why should you embrace the open network? Well, I think there are three main reasons. First off, your network will have better technology. The inherent nature of Open RAN unlocks the doors for startups and established vendors to create new products for different areas of the network. These new entrants will spur innovation by offering new choices of components at competitive prices. Next, with an open network, you adopt general purpose components that gives you the flexibility to configure your network to meet your needs. The increased virtualization of Open RAN will also accelerate the promise of a software-driven network. Lastly, the open ecosystem allows you to upgrade components with ease. There is no longer that burden of having to rip and replace the entire network just to switch vendors. This allows you to respond quickly to changing market demands and reduce the cost of ownership. Now, we at Twinbit firmly believes in the potential of an open ecosystem to disrupt the future. And we forecast the market to grow massively to reach over 20 billion in 2030, capturing around 60% of the total RAN market share. Now, from our research, we have seen very positive sentiments across the market, with operators planning to open their networks in the next decade. But I'm sure you're asking, what are these operators doing right now? Well, let's take a look at the two categories of operators, greenfield and brownfield. Labeled the poster boy of Open RAN, Rakuten in Japan has set up the world's first cloud-native, virtualized 4G and 5G networks. With an open infrastructure, Rakuten can tap into a strong and diverse vendor ecosystem. Dish, on the other hand, has taken a slightly different approach, hosting their virtual networks, even the RAN, on the cloud. Brownfield operators like Telefonica and Axiata are also experimenting with this technology. And according to them, Open RAN will account for about 50% of the RAN growth between 2022 and 2025, as it integrates Open RAN across sites in Europe and Asia. Now, these early trials and deployments have already shown that Open RAN is not just a passing trend. And we think there are three meaningful benefits for operators. Firstly, operators can save cost. Forecasts show that network deployment costs can drop by 30 to 50% if an open architecture is used. Next, an open ecosystem enables operators to build a best-of-breed solution, and this is a great way to take advantage of the capabilities of each vendor. Lastly, with more vendors in the space, competition and innovation comes naturally. Now, vendor diversity enables new products to be built in a much shorter time. And in the future, we can expect average product life cycles to fall from 18 to 12 months. Now, what about you and your network? How should you navigate the open ecosystem? Well, here are 4 things to consider. First off, backward compatibility, especially for brownfield operators. Study the feasibility of migrating legacy networks. Think of 2G, 3G, and or even 4G. But if that's not an option, use spectrum sharing for existing networks to coexist with open 5G networks. Opening the RAN only for 5G will not reduce the overall network cost of ownership, as operators face the challenge of managing 2 separate networks. So investing in network modernization is definitely the way to go. Testing and integration is also key in ensuring interoperability. Here, operators have 3 choices: to integrate components themselves, rely on a hardware vendor, or use an external system integrator. Lastly, in an open ecosystem, you want to work with partners that can go the distance and are reliable next to choke when things go wrong. Pricing is therefore less of a key factor here. Operators should instead prioritize stability, reliability, and interoperability of these network solutions. Check these 4 points off the list, and you will be well on your way towards championing Open RAN. That is all from me today. I hope this session has given you a better perspective on how you and your business should approach the next phase of innovation. For more information, do check out our website at twimbit.com, or you can reach out to me personally at william@twimbit.com for further inquiries. And as a bonus, we are sharing you a link to a recently released preview of our global Open RAN assessment. So do scan the QR code to get exclusive access. Thank you for your time today and have a great rest of